Hello. My papa dog and I are making a video together. Yes, together forever with a new doll, modeling doll, generic. And it matches my clothes. And I want to make a video about Chanel number 5. That is a vintage scent, of course. It was Marilyn Monroe's favorite perfume, and I understand why. It is an evergreen. It is a scent that is historic and that will never fade, literally. And I have it on the back of my hand. The scent of Marilyn Monroe. And I believe Anna Nicole Smith had that as well, because she was a fan of Marilyn Monroe, and she was the reincarnation of Marilyn Monroe. But no filmmaker wanted to acknowledge that. They were mean to her, and that's not good. But I'm a fan of that soul. It is a good soul, okay? It's an angel soul, very sensitive soul, a clown, no, and always misunderstood in each incarnation. That is what's happening. But yeah, we learn from that. We move forward. If we really confront ourselves with it and face it and say, yes, we're misunderstood, and it's okay. It's not a big problem. Friedrich Nietzsche always said you have to have gone through a phase in your life where you drank with the Pöbel, as he called it, which translates to populous body, which translates to the average working community. So you have to have been drinking and eating with them on the same tables in order to understand them. So that's why we have to go down there to that valley, the valley of ridicule. And it's good to be a clown, and it's okay to be misunderstood sometimes. You can't be always speaking the same communication code, to put it that way. So, because it's not just language, it's also para-language, it's lifestyle, it's the way people think. It's very difficult to meet people where they are when we are somewhere else, somewhere up in the clouds. As Friedrich Nietzsche always said, it's lonely up there in the clouds, very lonely. So this smell, I missed it so much, I really did. I didn't want to buy it again because I didn't want alcohol. So then I found the perfume oils, 4 different companies. Yes, Papa Doc, I'm sure there are more companies than that. But so far I've been studying and researching and found these 4 companies. And worldwide perfume oils, they haven't answered my question yet. But I'm gonna ask them the question again. So, is it cruelty-free, in parentheses, you have to add that, in parentheses, because some people don't even know what that means, cruelty-free. Some people don't even speak English very well. So some people are somewhere out there, way out there in Taiwan, so, and they probably don't even speak English. So then they don't even know what that means. They go like, what is she talking about? Okay, so in parentheses, not tested on animals, okay? And vegan, and phthalate free, and paraben free, and synthetic coloring free. Okay, it's these criteria that we want to find out, you know. So, and if we don't ask that question, if we don't ask the companies, then they think it's okay to put all of that in, you know, and that's not good for us. It's carcinogenic. It's not good. It's not helping us, it's not helping the environment, it's making life hard for the animals, it ends up in the ocean, you know, this whole thing. You know, it's important. It's very important. We are, each person is responsible to make the world better. Okay, so. Yes, Papa Dog, I know. Paul went to the other house. Finally I got some breather here, because when he's here I don't have enough freedom to give Papa Dog clay, because he'll get mad at me for giving him clay, because he fights me tooth and nail about the clay, because he reads the anti-clay propaganda from the medical industry and he believes it, you know. But he thinks he is a free thinker. I'm an atheist. I'm a free thinker. Oops, but you believe the medical industry. Not good. So that's not free thinking. Yeah, I know for sure, because I've done like years of research on this, and I tested this on myself. I know that all clays from this planet, any kind of sedimentation layer, all clays. There are I heard there are some clays that are radioactive, but even those are healing, believe it or not. Because clay is such a highly complex and intelligent substance, you know, that it knows what it's doing. It really knows what it's doing. So I'm using sodium bentonite clay. That's one of the most common clay sedimentations that is formed through volcanic ash and lava flow, and that together with rainfall, oxidization processes, and hydration processes, and maybe some salt sediments from ancient oceans. So all of this, you know, creates a soup and a mud. Then that becomes compacted into a layer, because other things will form themselves, fall on top of it. So then layer upon layer upon layer, through millions and millions of years, if not billions of years, or maybe 3 billion years. Okay, it's a long process. So, and then so the only way we get to see it at all, the only way we get to see these deep sedimentation is if we have these tectonic plates hitting each other around the globe in the ocean. And I'm starting to get warm now because I have the heater on now, and I put so much stuff on. But I like the way this looks, so I don't want to take it off. You just have to put up with my red cheeks. So all of, you know, all these sedimentations, the only way they come to the surface at all is through land masses crashing against one another. being bunched up like this. That's how mountain ranges evolved. Through these tectonic plates, the continental plates that are moved, that are apparently that have cracks, that there are cracks in between, and then these plates, they get, because of earthquake activity, seismic activity, pushes them together, bunches them up, brings them up. Islands are born through this, mountains are born through this. It happens on land too. So the entire Himalayan mountain ranges are caused by this activity. It's constantly bunched together, like, and higher and higher and higher. And then these layers that were originally deep down, they suddenly become exposed because it gets pushed up, and then some of that falls over to the side, and then you can look at all these rings and these layers, and they can do carbon dating techniques where they have very accurate, even to the year accurate chemistry evaluation tools, where they can see, according to the carbon molecules, the way the carbon molecules, they deteriorate after a while. So according to the stage of deterioration, they can very accurately make an estimation on how old this particular sedimentation layer is, and the fossils and all of this. And I recommend to people to get into science. I recommend to people to get into watching scientific documentary films. It's very interesting, very eye-opening, and it'll tell us much more about life on Earth and about ourselves. So we understand more through this, And then it goes a little further than science as well, because a lot of scientists aren't willing to look a little bit further into metaphysics. But of course it goes further and further and further, We call it metaphysics because it eludes the current physics evaluation techniques. That's all it means. So it really isn't meta outside. It is not outside of physics. It is still physics. It just keeps going on, and into the microcosm, into the macrocosm, and into other dimensions. It just keeps going on. Knowledge and probing further into finding out keeps going on. It's an endless process. This is infinity also. So when people eat mushrooms and stuff like this, they will see some of that. And they'll be very, very shocked and amazed. But not everyone is ready to see what they're going to be seeing, because it also brings up all the stuff from the past. It brings up the truth. Most people are terrified of the truth. Then they want to take recreational drugs. I was thinking about this earlier. Recreational drugs. This whole terminology is so incredibly wrong, because drugs are not recreational. Walking in nature is recreational. Drugs are not. Drugs they ruin people's health, they ruin their brains, entire brain neurology, neurochemistry, so fried. And then they go on SSI and they think they have lived a great life. No, no, it doesn't work that way. Hallucinogenic drugs they ruin people's brains. You know, some people at the end of their lives, you know, some people who are terminally ill, that's a different story. You know, we can work with some of those substances. They're also highly medicinal, but you know, they have to be taken with utmost caution. And it really depends on the life situation. It can make someone's transition from life to death easier when they're already, you know, when they feel like there's nothing anymore to do for them. They're not going to be driving a car anymore. They're not going to be taking care of themselves anymore. Because once people take those things, you know, they're going to have a real hard time taking care of themselves. And I've seen this now. I've seen this enough times now. I've seen at least 50 people, 50 old hippies that are now on SSI, on governmental help, and they're completely 5150. They can't take care of themselves anymore. Some of those people end up on the street homeless. They fall through the grid. They really need to be in a sanatorium. That's where they should be. Because it's unacceptable to have people like this blindly running around on the street not knowing what they're doing. It's not okay. It's also not okay for other people to have to put up with those people that are coming up bumming money and stinking and smoking and drinking in public and hollering and talking to themselves loud, and it's kind of scary, you know, for kids, teenagers. And I mean, the whole thing is just so, it's so backwards, you know. I'm giving you facts. This is the truth. You know. This is the truth. So don't tell people, don't experiment with hallucinogenic drugs, because they really mess up your brains. We can do that healing process through introspection, and it will be done in a gradual, holistic, wholesome way, you know, in the own pace, in the own speed that any individual can take on the trauma from the past and not be overwhelmed with the trauma all at once. People have died from that. People who have taken ayahuasca have died. Yeah. But they try to hide this because they make this into such a fad. It's just a fact. We need to look at these things. So I don't recommend it. No, absolutely not. There are some people that have the C word, that are in the hospital, that are, you know, terminal, that can't even walk anymore. For them, this might be very helpful. You know, any kind of substance like that, natural though, might be helpful for them, but supervised, you know, with physicians and nurses around. So not people on their own, in their own bathroom and stuff like this. No, don't do that. Particularly not when you have animals and children. Can you imagine how terrified they get if people are freaking out? So no, it's not okay. That's not responsible to do. Not at all. You know, there may be some people, some very rare exceptions of people that are, maybe for them it is the right thing at the right time. It could be. I'm not going to deny that. That could be the case. But in general, it's extremely dangerous. Extremely. And it's extremely irresponsible to do this when you are a caregiver, when you have a protege in your house. You know. Guinea pig, uh, a rabbit, a cat, a dog, or even outdoor animals that you have to take care of, or a person, human person, or a child, you should never do something like this. Okay? Never. If you have a responsibility for others that depend on you, you can't be freaking out and losing it and screaming and all of this. It's terror for these other beings. So please don't do it, okay? Here's a flower for you. Flower of the blue god that says each person is responsible for the world we live in and for all the other beings that are around us. Okay? It's very important to realize that. And this flower is also for the lovely Mademoiselle Gabrielle Chanel. Okay. I know you're out there and maybe you've come back in animal form. Okay, and wherever you are, you're safe, you're protected, you've given the world amazing joy, Gabrielle. Okay, amazing joy. And you've given me amazing joy in my whole life. My whole life I've enjoyed your scents. Chanel number 5, I had Coco Chanel, I had Chanel number 19, and several of the other ones. I can't count it anymore. How many perfumes I've had in my life. It's insane. Back when I was drinking alcohol, I guess I didn't even care if the perfume contained alcohol. But I quit alcohol at 25. Then I still kept taking perfume externally with alcohol. But at some point I realized, nah. I think that was in 2010 or 2011 when I realized, no more alcohol on my skin. My husband, he still uses isopropyl alcohol to clean a wound or something. I don't put that onto a wound or on anything, or a mosquito bite, or I don't put that on anything. Dr. Scholl's has alcohol in some of his tinctures, I think Dr. Scholl's, he drinks a little bit of a shot sometimes, a whiskey shot. So it's, I'm not gonna hold it against him. It's a self-medication device, so. But I recommend to him and everyone not to do that. That's not how we heal ourselves. Okay, that's certainly not how we heal ourselves. And if we have social insecurities, and I don't know what, I'm not going to talk about Dr. Scholl's in this respect because I don't know what his problem is, and I shouldn't be talking about his problems. So all I know, he's drinking a shot of whiskey. That speaks for itself, volumes. So I love Dr. Schultz. He's bringing health healing packages, natural holistic healing packages to the world. His tinctures contain alcohol. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with riding motorcycles, and I don't agree with drinking alcohol. But, so I'm just laying it out the way I see it, to the world. And I'm not just convinced, I know it. I'm 150%. So I've been through stuff, and I've tested all of this on myself. So I know for sure, for absolute certain, that alcohol is not the path. And as long as someone drinks alcohol, takes drugs or smokes, or takes even, pharmaceutical medication of various kinds, that fogs up the brain. Yeah, that's what I disagreed also with Dr. Arthur Janov and the Primal Center. that they had their own psychiatrist on board, and I love that psychiatrist. He's a real good person, but he didn't know better. That's how he was trained, you know. But the center that they were pushing medication on people, they kicked me out in 1995 because I didn't take the medication. So, because I just knew I just felt an aversion towards it. That's a natural aversion. So, a patient can say no to treatment. A patient should never be forced, never be coerced, never be told, if you do this, we're going to kick you out. You know, I know that this is a tactic that is done by many institutions, and that is unethical. So, no, medication, pharmaceutical medication fogs up the brain. It prevents the healing process, just as alcohol prevents the healing process. It prevents clear thinking, you know, insights, all of this. The only path is to become completely sober. Completely sober. In every respect. And also to quit any other addiction, gambling, any other unhealthy addiction. So some people, they consider themselves addicted to perfumes, which I am myself. But that's not, it could be an addiction maybe of some sort. But that's like being addicted to going to hot springs, you know, and going into a swimming pool, or going skinny dipping all the time in every puddle of water, which I do. So yeah, it could also be seen as a, but those are healthy addictions in quotation marks. So therefore I don't group them into the category addictions. Those are just passions, you know, and they're healthy and they're good for us, and they make us have joy and happiness. And Gabrielle has given us that joy. She has made the world feel joy, and that's wonderful. And she herself was afflicted with all kinds of addictions and was suffering psychologically. So, but still a very strong, will-powered person in terms of business and in terms of design. So, and that saved her life. You know, the passion for couture saved her life. If she didn't have that, it would be horrific. So, and at that time they didn't even warn people about nicotine and alcohol and all of these things. Those scientific reports, they came out much later, that all of this is super unhealthy and very detrimental for people's health. They all thought that was just a lifestyle or something. I can't even watch the old footage of Gabrielle smoking her long cigarette extensions. Ugh, can't stand it. I can't watch any kind of video where someone is smoking any kind of nicotine device. I can't stand it. I have to turn it off. Yeah, even if it's a vintage film, so I have to turn that off. Well, I guess that's OCD, but still, you know, I mean, I just, because I see it as so incredibly, it's negativity. It's so, it makes me sad. So I am onto a new path, you know, the path towards the future. And no matter what I did in the past, I learned from these things, these vices, drinking alcohol, smoking, partying, speed type of drug. They were over the counter at that time, but still, it's a terrible vice. It's I just knew when I was doing it that this was not good. I knew it. So I never tried hallucinogenics because I already knew that I would be ending up in the sanatorium in Germany for good for the rest of, and I still had some work to do in my life. So I saw a documentary film when I was 13 on hallucinogenic drugs, and I never considered it in the first place, but I watched this and I knew, oh, that's me, that girl there ending up in the insane asylum for the rest of her life. Never came out of the bad trip. What a horror. And I knew, okay, that would be my destiny if I tried that stuff. So no way, no friggin' way. I already had a panic attack in 2012 without taking any of that stuff. Can you imagine how it would be if my brain was exposed to stuff like that? There's so much trauma in me, in my brain, so much tucked away trauma that I haven't even scratched the surface on. So, and that's the case with most humans, actually. That's the case with Gabrielle Chanel. I can see that. So sad. But she saved her life with her art and her couture and her amazing sense. And so that's why it's important, for anyone who digs deep into their psychology. It's a good thing to do, but let's not only focus on that, because that's what the center did in LA with primotherapy. The focus was only on digging deep. It was important in my life. Was important for many people. It's important to do, but then it didn't give any other modalities. It was a feverish digging into the past for all of us. It became a lifestyle. It became the only subject of discussion. It became an obsession, actually. And then it almost became cultish. John Lennon has done it, has done primotherapy with Dr. Arthur Janov, and I guess he brought it into the public. He made it popular after John Lennon did it, and a lot more people did it. But that's not the only approach. It wasn't good for John Lennon. It wasn't good for a lot of the movie stars out there. The incessant digging into the past alone isn't doing it. So we have to have a balanced approach. That's what I want to do in my therapy center. If I ever get to establish that, I want to have a balanced approach. We have to have what Coco, that is her nickname, Gabrielle Coco Chanel, what she did, with all that trauma, and she was smoking. She probably drank whiskey too. That's what the old ladies, our great grandmothers did. A lot of them, particularly the roaring 20s partiers. So they didn't even know about the dangers about all of this. But yeah, it's a coping mechanism. If you don't have pain, you're not going to be drawn to that, to any of these vices, if you don't have any emotional pain. But that doesn't mean that now I can say, oh, because of my emotional pain, I can do all of this, or this is justified. No, it's not. It's not justified because it's unhealthy. Okay, it wounds your health. It's not good for the environment. It's not good for the beings that are in your life and that are dependent on you. So it's bad on all levels. It teaches kids the wrong message, all of this. And at the time of Gabrielle, the women were still chubby, a little bit chubby, like Marilyn Monroe. And that's wonderful, and that's very sexual. So, and then at some point, this anorexic lady came. Her name was Twiggy. I think that was in the 60s somewhere. An anorexic hippie lady. And then all hell broke loose in the fashion industry since then. So it's Karl Lagerfeld. Sorry, Karl. Yeah, you have corpses in the cellar. Now you are a corpse yourself. So, but I don't mean this in any way of a put on. I respect you. You have also brought a lot of happiness to people, but you have to understand that you had a chip on your shoulder, and that you didn't listen to caring, kind-hearted people giving you kind-hearted advice, and that you have put down chubby women, and that you have proliferated Twiggy and proliferated that fat, and that's very unhealthy. But I give you a rose anyway. So, Karl, the follower of Gabrielle, the one who stepped into her footsteps, the one who proliferated Gabrielle's work, and I guess he meant well. So that's what the rose is for. But the journey is not over. You have to come back as a woman. You have to come back as a chubby woman. Okay, and you have to go through this and see everything from the other side. And you also have to come back as a raccoon. So which one you pick first is up to you. But you're going to have to. And the raccoon is going to get rescued. And then you realize, oh, okay, I see it now. I see it from that other perspective. Okay, I see it now. I understand. But sometimes it just takes that switching of roles to really understand the other being's perspective on things. So, whoever is in charge now of Chanel, go fur free, go whole vegan, go synthetic vegan. Go cruelty free. Don't test on any cosmetics and perfumes. Don't test any of that on animals. Very important. And don't go to China and let them test it. A lot of people have done that because China has these hideous mandatory laws to test cosmetic. Horrific. Horrific. Test these on yourselves. You can test that on yourselves. You don't have to test that on someone who doesn't want that on them. Very important message to the world. This also reminds me of my grandmother, of course, and I have the feeling she also had it. She had Chanel number 5. I think they all had Chanel number 5 at some point in their lives. including my great-grandmother. So there are already 6 ingredients that I detected. In the past, I've never thought about this. So then at some point in the past, like the last, like 8 years ago or so, I bought myself ylang ylang from Eden Botanicals naturally. It's natural from the Philippine Islands. It grows there. It is, I think it's a tree, and it has these elongated yellow banana looking flowers, very beautiful, large, and very strongly scented. Beautiful. It must be amazing to live there surrounded by ylang ylang. It's a dream. I want to experience this one day. It's a paradise. So they make, I think, distillations and absolutes with those. I got several of those from different regions on the planet. Different types of ylang ylang I got. And when I smelled that, I knew, that reminds me of Chanel No. 5. So then I knew that is one ingredient in Chanel No. 5. It's ylang ylang. So, and another one is tulip. It's just what I smell personally. So, and these two are the most dominant, I think, in Chanel No. 5. Tulip and ylang ylang. Also cherry blossom, and I think orange blossom as well. I think honeysuckle and lily of the valley as well. It has musk, something musky in it. Probably also from a plant. There are musk type of plants out there. So it's not only from animal ingredients. I don't know what Gabrielle used. So, and during her time, they used actual ingredients. I hope they didn't use animal kind of pheromones in this. But today, Chanel No. 5, the original, I mean the actual company, makes those, I think, 100% synthetic. Those are all the synthetically imitated from nature molecules that they have, the finest, of course. And I got this one from Sensational Shop, and this is an imitation of the imitated molecules from Chanel, from the actual company. So imitated from the company. So an imitation of imitation. And very well done. I have to really say this is very well done because it smells identical to the Chanel No. 5 that I had from Chanel, from the company. And in this is also, it's just synthetic molecules, so no animal stuff. And Sensational Shop uses vegetable carrier oil, which is also great. Makes it smell very wonderful. Vegetable carrier oil rounds this up in a very amazing way, in a very soft and very feminine way. It's good for the skin also. It's very strong, very, very powerful, not too diluted. You know, it's a little bit, it has to be a little bit diluted, of course. It can't be, like I said before, it can't be putting the actual scent molecule on your skin. It's too strong. But it is diluted only to a point where it's good for the skin and where the scent is still extremely powerful and lasts a long time. So yeah, they offer very high quality. Smells really, really great. Oh yeah, and also smell carnation in it. I'm detecting more than 6 now. What else was it? Ylang ylang, tulip, cherry blossom, orange blossom, musk. What else? Carnation. Carnation is a flower, a red flower that has many, many fleshy petals. Layers of fleshy petals. Very beautiful. Very, very strong smelling. Very lovely. Has a very powdery, old lady scent, but I love it. Very vintage. I love it because it reminds me of my grandmother and many other old ladies in the past that had that on. And their powders and cosmetic, it all smelled very similar to this. So they used similar ingredients. You know, they all had carnation in it and tulip. It's a wonderful perfume.